not like your dead husband can die twice.
Everyone knows that at this point, death is a minor setback when it comes to comic book characters.
I understand, my child.
That is, unless you're Uncle Ben. Sorry, Uncle Ben. Coming back to life is de jour for comic book characters. Even characters that have made coming back to life their thing, like Loki, haven't managed to come back twice in the same story and then fight themselves.
Come on. What did you expect?
Now that imaginary Vision has taken the password protect off Vision 2.0's hard drive, what's next for the synthezoid they can't keep down? Here's some stories we'd like to see.
I request elaboration.
Most heroes have humble origins, where they were just some normal person trying to live a life, and then a little bit of tragedy, a little bit of interference from science or magic or space, and an urge to do the right thing, and a hero was born.
I want the big one.
Vision wasn't born though, he was created. Created by Ultron to help Ultron destroy the world, but decided against it and fought for the good guys instead. But then Ultron thought he was a good guy. He also thinks that the only way to save the world is to get rid of all people, so it's relative. When comic book Vision did his hard reboot, he dove into the work as Protector, eventually becoming the chairman of the Avengers. Thanks to a tweak in his control crystal, which stands for the Mind Stone in the comics, his plans for saving the world started to get a little Ultron-y in the Absolute Vision storyline. They got Ultron-y in a way that would translate well into the MCU. Part of the plan was to occupy the other Avengers who weren't going to be on board with Vision making unilateral decisions. The other part was to make a bunch of unilateral decisions by accessing the controls for the arsenals of the world. In Avengers Age of Ultron, Tony Stark finds out that Jarvis is still functioning by finding out that Jarvis has been preventing Ultron from doing that very thing. Preventing the world from harming itself and the complex ethical ramifications of such a thing would fit perfectly into the arc of the avenging synthezoid. Comic book Vision got his monochrome look when he went through a hard reboot and dismantling that ended with Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, refusing to lend his brain patterns to the revived robot. Williams' brain pattern has been used in the same way the Jarvis AI was used in the MCU's Vision as a source of Vision's personality. A brain print of Williams has been laying around in the hopes of bringing Williams back somehow, sometime, and was used to make Vision a real boy while that goal was still pending. Since Williams was now walking around and talking and feeling all the same feelings that Vision would feel, he felt at this time maybe Simon Williams would be Simon Williams, and Vision could sort himself out. Eventually this didn't stick, and some of Williams was still inside Vision, who eventually shed his pallor look. Turns out that Ultron was feeling things around the same time, and when Vision went to have a rare father-son chat, encountered someone who had taken over the monochrome Vision chassis, including himself as the anti-Vision. This isn't a programming remnant, but in fact a Vision from another reality, lacking in our Vision's ethical hangups. With the multiverse ramping up to be a big part of the MCU, especially at the hands of Wanda, who's willing to rip up reality itself to have a little more time with Vision, it would be a story that's already set up. Plus it ends with Vision, Ultron, and a character named Joe Costa going on a retreat to sort out what it's like to have feelings, which is just delightful.
What am I?
After 2 deaths, Vision's got a chance to do his Tears in the Rain speech on the 3rd try, highlighting all the things he's been starting with a voice without a body. When he was that, he was the AI that kept Tony on his toes, and was the operating system of the Iron Man suit of armor. In an amazingly convoluted set of moves, Kang the Conqueror turned his younger self into an adversary after trying to impress him with his conquering ways. That young self took up the Iron Mantle, becoming Iron Lad, using a discarded Vision to become Iron Lad's onboard AI. When Iron Lad went back to his home, he left Vision in the suit. This Vision eventually realized he wasn't the Vision everyone knew and started going by Jonas instead. Kang the Conqueror is coming to the MCU, but also so is Ironheart, who might be able to benefit from a new Vision trying to find himself, huh? With all the concern over chaos magic, and Agatha's certainty that Wanda having it being a bad thing, you'd think something called the Chaos War would be her fault, but nope. This time it's a being named Amasu Mikaboshi who killed Nightmare, and used his powers to start his new hobby of killing gods. That sounds fun. This forced Hercules to form an all-pantheon superband of defenders to defeat Amasu Mikaboshi, whose plans also included longtime Vision foe Grim Reaper. With other huge event stories already in the pipeline, getting Chaos War isn't likely, which is too bad, as it has some complicated encounters with the Grim Reaper and people for whom death just didn't take. After 9 brilliant episodes where sitcom realities were seamlessly blended with MCU scope, you'd think that there would be little point to revisiting suburban tranquility. In fact, Vision might be opposed to even trying, given to how dark things got the last time some version of him tried to live that life of domestic bliss. After a few failed attempts to do the suburban thing with Wanda, Vision did in fact try again in a post-Wanda world. Instead of swiping right until he found a suitable match, he went and created a partner instead. Then taking the brain patterns from her and some from him, he created a pair of twins for the couple, and then moved into a suburban town and did their level best to pretend to be normal citizens. They did it without the benefit of crushing mind control or reality manipulation, but it wasn't without its conflicts, including his constructed wife killing the Grim Reaper, and then getting blackmailed for it. The Tim King series would make a great follow-up to WandaVision, especially after Wanda's arc finally concludes. Every once in a while in the Marvel Universe, some ultra-powerful beings come by and grab a bunch of heroes and villains from Earth, and then put them in a cosmic mayonnaise jar and make them fight. One such instance was Secret Empire, where the Grandmaster and the Challenger decided to treat heroes like Pokemon. This eventually puts Vision against the Hulk. Vision tries Brain Squeeze, and it's very effective. Unfortunately, Hulk uses Punch the Now Solid Dude reaching into his skull super hard, and that also is super effective. Vision decides that if he dies, that's the final step in being human. After all, a thing isn't beautiful if it lasts. Conan disagrees. Humans die, but being human means avoiding that as much as you can. This inspires Vision to walk through the House of Ideas, the central point for all realities, and what Marvel likes to call itself, to use that reality-creating energy to bring himself back yet again. Before Vision got his suburban in his solo comic, he had another solo adventure in the pages of Avengers Icons 4-part series. This time, Vision is on the lookout for someone who had downloaded and stolen the Vision source code along with his memories. This forces Vision to go all the way back to his origins as the Human Torch, or rather an unused prototype for the original Human Torch, that ends in a journey of discovery for the old synthezoid.
I am Vision.
The original Human Torch actually makes a blink and you'll miss it cameo at the World's Fair in Captain America: The First Avenger, but the MCU's Vision has a slightly less complicated background. But things not being what they seem is really a theme with Vision and his best gal Wanda. While Vision was giving the whole Machiavellian thing a try as chairman of the Avengers, he also made the decision that if the US had 2 coasts, they maybe should have 2 sets of Avengers. Thus, the West Coast Avengers were formed. The original team was made up of Hawkeye, War Machine, Wonder Man, Mockingbird, and Tigra. Tigra hasn't made it to the MCU, and despite hints to the contrary, Wonder Man has never showed up in WandaVision. But other key members are coming, including Moon Knight, and it would be cool to see Vision's West Coast Avengers expansion team make it to the MCU. There were a lot of things that were predicted to happen in WandaVision,
To view alternate futures. To see all the possible outcomes.
and most of these predictions accounted to a clown car's worth of surprised heroes and villains. Otherworldly threats like Mephisto and Nightmare were anticipated, but if they were there, they kept things on the down low. Likewise, Master Pandemonium, the man who thought Tommy and Billy were part of his soul, ended up as a no-show. And Sam Heim decided to sit this one out as well. Even Doctor Strange couldn't be bothered to show up. A lot of these things that the fans and theorists sort of created themselves, taking what they know of the stories from the comics and running with it. But when it comes to Wanda and Vision's key foe and ally, the show made a deliberate bit of misdirection. Flourish. Eric Williams' Grim Reaper helmet showed up in the floorboards of the Bewitched episode's credits. But then that animation was almost a who's who of supporting Vision and the Scarlet Witch stories. In interviews with head writer Jack Schaefer, just over her shoulder was a poster of Wonder Man. Why have a poster of Wonder Man if you weren't planning on introducing him, huh? Apparently because you like him, but not enough to crowd your carefully crafted ode to grief and responsibility with a bunch of cameos. Flourish. Although now that this carefully crafted work is done, it'd be nice to see the man who gave comic book Vision his personality make his way to the Avengers, and have a super awkward relationship between Vision and the Scarlet Witch. Seriously, it gets super awkward. The last one has never really appeared in any comic book and never would, because things don't really end in comic books. If the publisher goes under, there's always the chance that another publisher will buy the characters up and work them into their own universes.
I just pay for everything and design everything and make everyone look cooler.
But movies with human actors do in fact come to an end at some point. And with all the suffering and loss that Wanda and Vision has had to endure, it'd be great if they finally got their own happy little ending, where they could grow old or whatever a Nexus being in a synthezoid would do, without having to rip gems out of anyone's head or anyone having to emotionally torture an entire town. You know.
Bravo!
Wanda is in the unenviable position of having grief and tragedy in her life and the power to do something about it, but having to learn that using that power has deep costs, not just to her, but those around her. Not since Captain America and Peggy has an MCU couple earned a dance and fade out. I'll be honest, I could go for a whole series that's just Vision, Ultron, and Jocasta sitting around and coping with feelings for the first time. Three androids contemplating what it is to feel ennui. Jocasta and Vision complaining about Ultron as a father, and Ultron going, "Let me tell you about Hank Pym. Guy's a jerk."